He was a priest who betrayed the church, was burned alive, and came back as the first vampire who could one day walk in sunlight. And the church itself created him. Tonight we are uncovering the true origins of Valek, the first master vampire from John Carpenter's Vampires. Not just how he became a monster, but how a failed holy ritual turned a man into a walking curse that even hell could not finish killing. By the end, you will understand why Valek is not just a vampire. He is a mistake that history tried to bury, and faith could never erase. Jan Valek was born in Prague in the year 1311. He was not a criminal, not a warlord, not a witch. He was a Catholic priest, a man sworn to God, a man trained in scripture, ritual, and exorcism, a man who knew the rules of heaven and hell better than almost anyone alive. And then he broke them. Valek began to speak against the church. He stood with starving peasants. He accused the clergy of corruption. He challenged their authority. In a time when faith ruled kingdoms, that was not rebellion. It was treason against God himself. The church did not debate him. They did not exile him. They erased him. Valek was captured, tried for heresy, and sentenced to burn at the stake. Fire was meant to purify the soul. Fire was meant to send him to judgment. But something followed him into the flames. After Valek was executed, the stories began. People in nearby villages claimed to see him walking at night, not as a spirit, not as a ghost, but as something solid, breathing, watching. Livestock were found drained, travelers vanished, and those who swore they saw him said the same thing. The priest still wore his face, but his eyes were no longer human. When church officials opened his grave, the coffin was empty. This became one of the earliest recorded cases of what we would later call vampirism. The church concluded only one thing made sense. Valek had not simply rebelled. He had been claimed. The church believed Valek was possessed by demons, so they did something forbidden. Something ancient, something that had not been used in centuries. They performed an inverse exorcism, not a ritual to drive demons out, but a ritual to force dark powers to reclaim a soul that no longer belonged to God. Valek was transported to Béziers, France, chained, broken, condemned. The Black Cross of Béziers was prepared, relics were placed, prayers were spoken backwards, and the ritual began. But something went wrong. Instead of pulling the darkness out of Valek, it locked it inside him. His body was destroyed, but his soul did not leave. What rose from that ritual was no longer alive, and no longer dead. Valek became the first of his kind, the first true master vampire. Not a creature born from a bite, not a victim turned in secret, but a being forged by a broken holy ritual. He was stronger than any vampire that followed, smarter, older, closer to the forces that created the curse itself. But the ritual had one flaw. It was never completed, and so Valek was left with a weakness that burned like a chain around his existence. He could not walk in sunlight. The same light he once preached about now destroyed him. For over 6 centuries, Valek searched for one thing, the Black Cross of Béziers, the same cross used in the failed exorcism, the same relic that could finish the ritual, the same symbol of faith that could make him untouchable. If the ritual were completed, Valek would no longer fear the sun, neither would the vampires he created. the last barrier between humanity and extinction would fall. Not because hell invaded Earth, but because heaven once made a mistake. Valek is not hunting blood. He is hunting freedom. Freedom from daylight. Freedom from limits. Freedom from the last law that keeps monsters in the dark. The church created him. The church failed to destroy him. And now the world is paying for that error. Every vampire that serves him is waiting for the same reward. A world where night never ends. When Valek finally finds the Black Cross, the truth becomes clear. This is no longer just a fight between hunters and monsters. This is no longer about bullets, sunlight, or holy water. It becomes something far older and far more dangerous. A battle between unfinished faith and a curse created by mistake. The Black Cross is not just a weapon. It is the final piece of a broken ritual, the last line of a prayer that was never meant to be completed. For 600 years, Valek has lived in the shadow of that missing step. Powerful, feared, but still chained by one ancient law. The sun, the same light that once shone through church windows. The same light he once prayed under. The same light that now burns his flesh and keeps him trapped in darkness. But if the ritual is finished, if the Black Cross completes what the Inverse Exorcism began, then the rules of the world change. The sun will no longer be a weapon. Day will no longer mean safety. Light will no longer mean protection. Humanity's oldest shield will fall. Valek will no longer need shadows. He will no longer need night. He will walk in open streets, under clear skies, among people who think daylight makes them safe. And that is what makes him truly terrifying. Not a creature that hides in darkness, but one that can stand in the light and still be a monster. In that moment, Valek becomes more than the first vampire, more than a master. He becomes something closer to a fallen god, a priest who lost God, a soul that hell could not fully claim, and a mistake that heaven could not undo. Valek is the proof that some rituals should never be finished, and some doors, once opened, do not close. They only wait, and sometimes, even burial is not enough to keep what is behind them from knocking again. Watch the next video to uncover the vampire the church feared even more than Valek.